Hey everybody, Maureen Bangle, Aveda Hair Color Professional and member of the Hair Color Magic team. I wanted to share a technique with you today that's been coming up a lot in the salon. So I don't know about you, but when a guest comes in and requests chunky highlights, all I think of is Kelly Clarkson, American Idol, circa 2002. Not the best look, right? Sorry, Kelly. But what we want to do in the salon is give our guests a more modern version of that. So on my model, Kristen, today, I'll be doing a technique that gives us the contrast and dimension of that look without looking like zebra stripes. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so to get started, we're going to brush up Kristen and we're going to get her sectioned off. I'm going to do a modified version of the 11 section highlight partings, and I am going to work off of Kristen's part so that we can make sure our placement is perfect when we're all finished. All right, so here we go. The first thing that's important before we get started in placing our foils is making sure that we're whisking our enlightener. And how many seconds should we be whisking our enlightener? 45. Here we go. Ready? So why is it important to whisk this for 45 seconds? 2 active ingredients need to be activated, right? Anybody remember what those are? Sodium metasilicate and potassium persulfate. If those aren't dissolved, they won't be activated. Won't get good lifts. It's pretty important, right? And we're whisking, and we're whisking. But the thing you'll notice is the enlightener texture changes, and so does the color. So it is really important for maximum lift to make sure that we whisk and whisk it good. All right, so I've already completed her right side quadrant, and in the sides here I have done less foils than I will be working with on the top right section. Reason being is I just don't want there to be so much dimension in through those side panels. Those side panels are pretty narrow, as you can see, and I don't want them to be all light. So now I'm going to work in the top panel. I'm going to be working in groups of 3 foils back to back, and I am going to be working, I'm going to brick lay them in comparison to her foil packets on the side. So in my first section, my first foil, I'm going to take a slice and I am going to do with this slice, I am going to go pretty close to the new growth as if I was doing a regular slice, making sure I'm using enough product to get nice even lift. And working back and forth, moving that hair around to make sure I have good saturation. I am then going to fold up that first foil, make sure it's nice and clean. And for me, the easier way to do this is to clip this out of the way. The second foil I'm going to take is going to be a very fine slice as well. This one though, I'm going to hold and back comb to about 1.5 inches from her scalp. I'm going to go ahead and place the foil, get that back combing kind of out of my way. Do my enlightener application. And roll that hair back and forth. And then I'm just going to come up to the top and just feather that line and go ahead and fold that foil. Pin that one out of the way. And for my third, I'm going to go ahead and back comb, but this one I'm going to leave about 3 inches from the scalp. So what we're doing here versus the original placement is we still are doing multiple foils back to back, or multiple slices back to back. But the old technique, all 3 slices used to go right up to the scalp. So by doing this technique, where we do the 3 different foils, 3 different slices at varying lengths away from the scalp, we're still getting that nice solid piece running through the mid-lengths and ends, but we are not getting those zebra stripes all the way down to her scalp. So now for my second set of foils, like I said, I'm going to go right in between her 2 groups of side foils so that they don't line up. I'm going to go ahead and do my first slice. Like a normal slice. And remember to work that product back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and pin that one out of the way. Take my second subsection, my second slice, about 1.5 inches away from the scalp. And go ahead and feather that line a little bit. And my last section, my last slice, I'm going to take and stay about 3 inches off of the scalp. Going to comb that back combing out of the way. If you have a guest who's got some shorter pieces in there, keep it neat. I'm just going to have you tilt down, and we're going to do this last one, this last grouping. I don't worry too much about being right on her part because we aren't really focusing on getting super close to the scalp. I want this to be a little bit more of a rooted look. Obviously, we don't want to have those big bands of color go all the way down to her scalp. I would say the focus is more on the mid-lengths and ends versus the scalp. So it still is a great option for your guests for a more lived-in look versus a fresh highlight. But this is a great way to add more bold dimension through those mid-lengths and ends. It's great because it's foil work versus open air, so you can get more lift and cleaner, even lift by using your foil. And there we go, our top section is finished. So, as you can see, I'll see if I can pull that out of the way. So we have our two back-to-back sections or groups on the side. And what we have done is we have brick-laid the foils on the sides and the top so that we don't have those pieces falling over one another. They lay next to each other in our finished product. All right, so Kristen is finished processing. We shampooed her with Color Conserve shampoo. We finished her with Color Conserve finish, and then we did a botanical hair therapy right away. She has lifted to a level 8, so we have an OY reflection or orange yellow reflection. And I would say that we are going to go ahead and tone her. But first, we're going to do a little bit of equalizing solution to make sure that our palette is nice and even, and we have even porosity before we put that on. In terms of formulas, for her highlights, we did 10 volume enlightener, no additives at all, just 10 volume enlightener. For her toner, we are going to do equal parts of light copper and light ash from Demi Plus. We're gonna let that process, and we'll see you when she's all finished. All right, so here we are with the finished product. Kristen looks beautiful. So to review, our highlights were 10 volume enlightener. And remember those 3 slices. The first one, the enlightener goes down to the scalp. Second one, we back comb about 1.5 inches away from the scalp. And the third one, about 3.5 inches away from the scalp, so that we don't have that bold those bold slices at the scalp. And then after we shampooed her, finished her, and did a botanical hair therapy, we did a toner with equal parts of light copper and light ash from the Demi Plus line, and processed her for 20 minutes. So last but not least, a finishing touch. So we're going to use a little bit of cherry blossom to touch up her lips. And there she is. Hope you guys enjoyed this technique.